produce a different number than what I thought I was going to produce. Yeah, I can't compare, can I? So I get to the end of the year, and what I planned on doing, the 300,000 pairs of shoes, isn't what I did at all. I did 308,000 pairs of shoes. So what I had asked you to do, I believe, is to fill out or to complete, boy, there's a lot going on the screen. I had asked you to complete this flexible budget. Was everybody able to do that pretty easily? So let's talk about the numbers. I'm selling them for $80 a pair, and I sold 308,000 pairs. So what was my, what would I have budgeted at the $308,000 level, or 308,000 pair of shoe level? Can somebody just give me numbers? Okay. Did everybody get that number? No. Okay.
Are we on
308,000 times $80. I'm sorry? Yes, that's what I got too. Okay. And then what did you get for 640? What should I have budgeted for my cost of goods sold at the $308,000 level? Just keep reading the numbers if you would. Okay. 3,696,000. Okay. Go ahead. And the fixed expenses, $1,000,001. No. No, $1 million. I thought I was going to do $1 million, and the nature of fixed expenses is at any level. I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Okay, so at the 308,000 pair of shoe level, what did you think my net operating income should be? 704. Okay. Okay. First off, let's talk just to kind of get us back in the scope of what we're doing here. Which of these budgets did I do before I ever even got into the year? The plan budget. And where did I come up with the 300,000? However I do my sales forecasting, like we were studying master budgeting. Maybe it was zero-based, maybe it was incremental, maybe I did linear regression, but I thought I was going to sell 300,000 pairs. So I did this entire budget based on that, didn't I? And this is always the first thing that you have to have in your plan budget. You have to tell me what level do you think you're doing, right? So then what's the next thing that happened up here, so to speak? Yeah, but I went through the year, I performed, and I accumulated my financial data in my software, you know, probably not QuickBooks because this is a pretty good sized company, probably something more sophisticated. And what did I actually do? Sold 308,000 pairs of shoes. Okay, great, and here's the numbers. This is what I actually pulled from my software. So can somebody explain to me why I don't just calculate my variances, assess performance, and move on down the road? I want to make an analysis as to how well I did. How did my sales look? Did I control my cost of goods sold, my materials and labor and overhead? And this is going to be way much more complex than I have up here, obviously. Am I controlling my selling expenses, right? How am I performing? And let me just make this point. This is critical. I'm not just chunking out all these numbers because I love Excel. I'm going to tie all of this into something called responsibility accounting. In other words, Jake manages my salespeople, and he's going to be held directly responsible, probably for this line item and this line item, right? How did you sell and how did you control the expenses? And you run my production facility, and I'm going to hold you responsible for controlling costs of production, etc. So I'm going to tie all this in to responsibility accounting. So first I do my plan budget, then I do my actual budget, and lastly, I do what? Well, I got to get this guy, right? And then I'm going to move down and I'm going to do my variances. How many kinds of variances am I running? 2. I'm running 2 columns of variances. The variances that are the difference between my actual budget and my flexible budget are referred to as what? Those are my revenue and spending variances. And I know this is getting messy, so just bear with me, I've only got so much space. The difference between what I actually did and what I budgeted, or what my flexible budget tells me I should have done at that level. These are the variances that are attributable to revenue differentials and spending differentials. And honestly, in Excel, it's just A minus B. Revenue and spending variances. Obviously, the first line item is going to be your revenue variance. Everything else is going to be your spending variance. Okay, I got to move these guys up a little bit. The difference between the 308,000 level budget and the planned budget is known as my activity variances. In other words, everything in that column is attributable to the fact that I produced or sold 8,000 more pairs of shoes, right? So do you all have your Excel spreadsheet up? Okay. How are you going to do this? Let's finish this thing off. You've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns of data right now? Can you go ahead and insert columns? Everyone know how to do that? So you're going to go up, hold your hand up if you don't, and I'll come around and show you how to insert a column. Okay, so get your columns in here. Get your columns in here and do these calculations. And actually, could you please insert 2 columns, and I'll show you why for each of them. Because each of these variances, after you calculate it, you're going to need in the next little cell to tell me if it's U or F. What does that mean? Unfavorable or favorable? Is this a good thing or a not good thing? So let's go ahead. Oh, I shut down Excel. Now I got to wait for it to open. And then just leave a little column in here where we're going to put our U or our F. sales, COGS, selling expenses, fixed, and net operating income. Okay. 24,024. How much was my cost of goods sold per unit? Thank you. And my selling expenses? 12? Thank you. Planned equals 30 times 300, no, 80. Okay. Does everybody have the numbers in? And agree with my numbers, I guess, more importantly? Can I help anybody with the spreadsheet? Okay, go ahead.
The flex, oh yeah, that should have been $1 million. It is $1 million.
Take care, Perry. Have a good weekend. So what's the, Joe, do you have a question?
I'm confused on it's 24 million. Oh, wait. Yeah, so that's the flexible, oh, wait, you've got to have them in the same order. Let me do that for you real quick. Yeah. Yeah, you've got
little, sorry, go ahead. Ask the question.
So these guys. Well, I'm just confused about that. This one is the negative, because I mean, if you take 24.6 and 24.0, it's negative, the negative number.
Okay.
So it's, so this is the difference.
But the first one should be negative and the second one should be positive.
Well, that's true. Mine doesn't have parentheses on it, sure?
No,
No, I don't know why.
because I was just looking at
Okay,
the
you're right.
negative.
Well, I
and
wonder
the
why
positive.
that doesn't make any sense.
Right,
That's
okay.
actually minus plus. It makes sense on the first one, and
Right.
the bottom one, like the first and last, but not in the middle.
Oh, you know why? Because she has her expenses as negative.
Is the flexible minus the plan.
Because you subtract them this way. So that's why.
Okay, so here's the scoop. And if you don't have parentheses, because you set your numbers up as positives, that's totally irrelevant. What matters is that you can now go and put in U's and F's on these. That is the key to this whole thing, because we can't talk about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing until you can do that. So let's do a couple together. I'm comparing, forget about all this. We're just looking now at the revenue and spending variances. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that my flexible budget's $24,640,000 and I actually sold $24,024,000? That's a bad thing. And let's make our columns here, red, so that we can clearly see, what it is. Okay. At the 308,000 shoe level, my flexible budget said I should have spent 9.24 million. I did spend 9.856. Good or bad thing? Bad thing. I overspent my expenses by 600 some grand. Okay. You go ahead and complete this column, please, and then we'll go over and do the same thing with our activity variances. You with us, Joe? Okay, and make sure to just do it in this order. It makes the most sense if it's in this order. Mal and Tirsa, are you with us? Okay. Selling expenses. Oh, I guess I could have had at least one favorable. Okay, so now let's talk about them. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Tell me how you're assessing your sales manager from these variances. Sherry, what would you have to say to her? What's the problem specifically? Excellent. That's exactly what you're looking at. First, you're going to look at this line and say, clearly, I'm not selling them for 80 bucks a pair, am I? So has my market changed? Did we make some relationship with a volume, some sort of volume discount? Because I sold 8,000 more pairs of shoes than I should have. That's a good thing. But at this level, I really should have made $10.7 million in net operating income. And I didn't even come close, did I? My sales were under budget. My cost of producing my shoes were over. My cost of selling my shoes were over. And even my fixed expenses went over. And again, like I said, for illustration purposes, this is super condensed. But you might go into your cost of goods sold budget and find out your materials were way higher than you thought, and your labor and overhead were right on budget. Well, what does that tell you? Maybe you got a new vendor. What else? Prices just went up. Yeah, right? Maybe my purchasing agent isn't being clever enough in, negotiating discount pricing. So you're going to dig into that. Or maybe, like Sherry said, it's just flat out that you've got to rebudget your numbers because your raw materials have gone up 8%, and that's just what the market bears now, right? Okay, the point of this is not just to run the calculations, but every single one of these variances need to be analyzed. Now, what I want you to go through, and I'll do the first couple with you again. Why am I what is an activity variance, first off? Can somebody define that for me? That's the variance that's attributable to what? Just a flat out change in activity level. I sold 308,000 pairs of shoes rather than 300,000. So let's go through and put our U's and F's on those. So good thing or bad thing, my flexible budget was $24.64 million. My planned budget was $24 million. That's a good thing. So my flexible budget was $9.24 million, and my planned budget was $9 million. Good or bad thing? Bad thing. Okay, great. So you understand how to do this. So go ahead and do that. So what do these variances, are they as meaningful to you as the revenue and spending variances? Okay, Jake's shaking his head, yeah, and Sherry's saying I don't think so. When I look at this whole package of variances, you're saying, why don't you think the activity variances are as important? That's pretty much it in my mind, okay? I can show over here by the sheer act of selling 8,000 more pairs of shoes, that yielded me how much more in profit? No? 304,000. By the sheer fact of selling another 8,000 pairs of shoes, I yielded 304,000 more dollars of profit. So that's got some relevance. But what really tells me how well I did at the 308,000 shoe level? That's my revenue and spending variances, isn't it? So although I generated more profit, did I do as well as I should have at the 308 level? Not even close. Okay, let's try another one together. Really, because me sitting up here just talking at you, really it's just a matter of you guys kind of setting these up on your own. I've just told you everything there is to tell you about the content of this unit. There's nothing really more to do. This is it. It's pretty straightforward. So let's go, please, together to, might as well use one that's due for Monday. Let's go to 9 dash, let's go to 9-5. And this is a tour operator. They operate, I'm on the bottom of page 414. They operate coastal glacier tours in Alaska on its tour boat, the Blue Glacier. Management has identified two cost drivers: the number of cruises and the number of passengers. And as you can imagine, yeah, the more cruises, the more costs and revenue, but it also depends how many passengers are on each boat. And so they've identified that, and they use that in its budgeting and performance reports. The company publishes a schedule of day cruises that it may supplement with special sailings if there is sufficient demand. Up to 80 passengers can be accommodated on the tour boat. Data concerning the company's cost formulas appears below. So it looks like every month they think their fixed expenses are $5,200, and that breaks down to $480 a cruise and $2 a passenger. And those, oh, I'm sorry, those, it's a mixed cost. So it's $5,200 plus $480 a cruise plus $2 a passenger. They're advertising $1,700 a month. Their admin costs are $4,300 fixed per month plus $24 per cruise plus $1 a passenger. So that's a mixed cost as well. The insurance is $2,900. And then it says up on the top of page 415, basically just what I said. And then the company's sales average about $25 a passenger. The company's planning budget for July is based on 24 cruises and 1,400 passengers. What's different about this than what we just looked at here? There's 2 cost drivers. So does that just stop you in your tracks? No. Should. I hope not. Let's set up what we think looks like our first couple rows. And remember, what's the first thing we always have to do on a flexible budget is we have to show what? You have to show the activity drivers. So let's go ahead, set up our titles, and get started. And are we doing this for a summer? Oh no, just for July. Okay. Okay, what do you guys want? And you don't have to have the same cells. I'm in B8, whatever. What are we putting up here first? Sure, number of cruises. And, very good. And I think we should show that this is what I planned on doing, right? Because this is which budget's going to be created on this, obviously. No, not the flexible. The plan. I'm sitting here in May doing this, you guys, so I can't, I'm trying to project what's going to happen in July. So get your numbers in there. And then I'm going to give you some other, they didn't do this, but we're going to do this. I'm going to give you what actually happened. So go ahead. What numbers do you think belongs in there? Tirsa, what was the number of cruises planned? Can you see that? Yeah, I think it was 24. And how many passengers? Okay. So come over pretty far because we are going to actually, I'm going to give you the actual numbers so that we can do the full thing. So come over pretty far and set up your column and down a couple rows for your planning budget. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. This should be pretty straightforward. They tell us how much our sales were per passenger, right? Then they give us our costs. They're mixed costs, many of them. So go ahead, figure out what you think the budget is that they're hoping to do in July. And if you need help, please raise your hand. So for those of you online, just go ahead and start formulating your budget. And then in a couple minutes, I'll give you what they actually did. Most of you did really well on the master budgets. So the formulas that you're writing, some of them are going to have three components, right? The fixed plus the two variables, right? No, you're going to write one formula. So let's do one formula together. Let's see, what do we got? Sales, vessel operating, advertising, administrative, and insurance, and then net operating income, right? Okay, let's go over and do the vessel operating costs together. Somebody help me write that. Equals what? It equals 5,200, which is the fixed, right? Okay, what else? Plus, I think I've got to open my parentheses now, don't I? Okay, plus what? 480 times F8, close my parens, plus, open parens again, $2, F9, close parens, boom. Now, in all reality, I should probably have a column where I've got the 480 and the 2, so if those numbers change, I can just update it. And I don't want to spend time to go redo that, but it's usually better if you've got all your data outlined so that it's all cell referencing. Okay, does anybody need help writing this formula? Because I know it's too small to really see. much do I sell it per passenger?
Average 25.
All right. What do you want to ask me next? What actually happened? Where am I going to get that data from? I'm going to get it from my financial planning, or from my software, right? My accounting software. So, all right, so now I'm going to tell you what they actually did. So I've got to give you these numbers. Okay, so here's what they actually did. Can you essentially at this point finish the spreadsheet? Oh, wait, no, that's not what happened. Do you have enough information to finish the spreadsheet now? Okay. This will be our last reinforcement exercise, and then we'll cover this on Monday, and then we'll go over our practice problems. The practice problems from your syllabus are due on Monday. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'll put it on Moodle so that you can see my formulas. Did everybody get the same planning budget numbers I did? No. What's different? So I think the sales were just $25 a person, right? So equals 25 times F9, which was my number of planned passengers. 25 times 1,400. Is that what you got? Did you get 4604 for your net operating income per plan? Okay. And the actual numbers I'm just giving you.
So the actual,
Yes. I'm sorry, sure. For which one again? Okay, so vessel operating cost equaled 5,200 plus 480 times, I used F8 because that's where my number of planned cruises were, plus $2 times F9 because that was my number of passengers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'll post it on Moodle.
and then you want to.
Oh, yeah. You need to, okay, sorry, let me just practice on flexible budgets. What are you going to do next? You're going to put flexible budget in the middle. What's the name of the variances that are the difference between actual and flexible? Those are your revenue and spending variances. What's the difference between your flexible and your planning budget? Activity variances. Okay? So, and then I want you to put the little column for the U's and the F's. And then I'd like you to write a couple sentences. What do you think's going on? Okay. Is that enough information for you to move forward? For now. And then the practice problems are due on Monday. Got it? I'm going to post it on Moodle right now. Sorry? Oh, gosh. Okay, file. What was this called? Alyeska? There we go. Okay, it should be up. It should be up on Moodle now. Yep, there it is.